Okay, I'll call the meeting to order, and I'd like to just start with an acknowledgement that we acknowledge the homeland of the many diverse First Nations and Métis people whose ancestors have walked on this land since time immemorial. We are grateful to work, live, and learn on the traditional territory of Treaty 8. And with that, I would like to go with an adoption of the agenda. Anybody have anything to add or delete from the agenda at this point? Seeing nothing. Get a motion for the agenda. Okay. Councillor Yashishin moves to adopt the agenda. All in favor? All right. I can see you there, Judy. So, okay. That's carried. Now we've got the new addition that we've had to ask for if there's any items that councillors want to debate about. And this time maybe I'll start with John to see if
I do not have
if you don't. Oh, okay. Sasha?
So I did, so is, the capital budget, will that be excluded from?
No, we should be
So
debating that.
that's one for
Yeah.
sure. I had a question to the CAO's report, so it's not so much a debate, but I'm wondering, so.
Okay, you want to discuss the CAO's report? Okay, and coming around to me, so we're going to be talking about, I would like to talk about 6.1, which is and we got the budget, which is 6.2 and 6.3. And we have CAO as an action list. And then we have our verbal reports, so what we are not going to be doing much on is the minutes, but we, right.
There's the minutes and the council information, which is the correspondence, so that's the other one that you could
Yeah,
select
so
if you like.
by not debating it, we know we're accepting those minutes, but we still need a motion though, don't we?
Yes.
Do we do that? I'm trying to get this whole system straight in my head, Rod. Are we going to be doing a separate motion when we get to those, or do we?
So if those are all the items that were to be selected, then a motion could be made that items 5.1, 5.2, and those contained within 14
Yep.
are approved as presented or as submitted.
Okay.
And those three are approved, and then you can proceed with the agenda items.
Okay.
Will the protective services and public works still be coming in?
Sorry.
Protective services and public works, will we still have to be?
No, they're not on the agenda. There's no. Okay, would somebody like to make that motion that Rod was suggesting? Okay, Councillor Benaka,
I make a motion to approve items 5.1, 5.2, 14.1, and 14.2 as presented in the agenda.
all right. All in favor? Okay, gotcha, Jude. There we go. So those are done. Now we move on to, we have a scheduled delegation with stars. And I also see it looks like we have some public delegations. And just so that you know from the public delegations that will, as soon as the scheduled delegations are done, you'll get your chance to address council. And Glenda, hi, welcome. All right, with that, Glenda, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Well, I know that you have some new counselors as well.
I might need to let you, I'm not sure if they've given you those privileges. Okay, I'll give you those privileges. All right, you should be able to now.
Okay, we'll see what we can do here. And I'm wondering, can you see this on full screen?
Yes.
Here,
Yep,
here?
we got it.
Okay, great. So, well, we'll just get started then. Want to thank you for our continued partnership that ensures that STARS can provide critical care anywhere. How's this sound? Are we okay for that?
Yeah, we were just doing a thumbs up test around here and we got thumbs up, so we can hear you.
Okay. All right, I'll keep going. Thank you. COVID-19 pandemic continues, and STARS remains under strict protocol to protect our operations. Our transport positions continue to provide critical care guidance for your local healthcare professionals, providing airway management, ventilation, and resuscitation procedures. We continue to see an increase in stress-related missions like heart attack, stroke, drug overdose, and approximately 1 in 5 missions is COVID-related. The pandemic has impacted our revenue in all funding areas. The long-awaited HEMS review released by the government of Alberta had several recommendations to include new air ambulance legislation in Alberta, and STARS to be recommended as a designated HEMS provider for Alberta, along with increased provincial funding for STARS. But at this point, these remain only recommendations. They have indicated they will continue with consultations before making any final decisions. So in the meantime, 20% government funding has been extended by the government for STARS in 2022. During these most challenging times, as we continue to see an increase and rise in emissions, we must continue to fundraise 80% of our crucial operating funds. So the pandemic has forced us to think outside of the box and be proactive. We identified operational and fundraising efficiency and had to sadly downsize staff members in affected areas across all 6 bases. The STARS lottery is the single largest funding source for STARS. And because of this, in 2021, we went ahead with the lottery despite the pandemic. We're indebted to every Albertan as that lottery sold out. And we are now hard and heavy into the 2022 lottery. And so we're hoping that Albertans will continue to stand by our side. The calendar campaign has significantly decreased with the inability to travel. So urban partners offered to help. Like you, thank you very much for your help on the calendar campaign. Calendar sales were available at municipal offices across Alberta. There's an unforeseeable future for our mainstay events, and we cannot exist without community support. We're grateful to many communities who continue to host online 50/50s and raffles in place of their annual community fundraisers that cannot be held. And thinking outside the box, we also developed a new, safe, online, multi-prudential radiothon, which was very successful. Behind the scenes, the STARS Emergency Link Center, immediate 24/7 safety network, and they have access to every available resource, including GIS mapping and preset coordinates that will help to locate a patient. They receive over 31,000 emergency requests every year, and there's approximately a 1-to-10 ratio for every mission flown. So in other words, if a rural community like Prairie has, let's say, 8 missions flown per year, it's likely that STARS has also assisted your community and local hospital with approximately 80 other emergency calls during that year. transport physicians provide medical oversight, as well as virtual consultation with your local doctors. So regardless how a patient is transported, by ground ambulance, Alberta Health Services fixed wing, rotary wing, or STARS helicopters, the Emergency Link Center is the link that provides for STARS to provide critical care anywhere. There's also a new pilot project that's launched with transport physicians. They're now taking a shift in the Emergency Link Center, and it is proving to be extremely effective. STARS crews administer critical care while en route to the hospital, and our transport physicians are working behind the scenes to save precious time. They coordinate the complex logistical arrangements with receiving hospitals for such things as scheduling neurosurgeons, cardiac cath lab, and CAT scanners. So in a time-dependent case like a brain bleed, for example, minutes count, and physicians are now able to make face-to-face decisions and using real-time diagnostics. This results in the direct delivery of a critical patient to an operating room. It is a game changer. Is the sound still okay?
It is, yep, we can hear you.
Thank you. Let's have a look at a 5-year mission overview for the town of Prairie as well as Big Lakes County. We continue to see the mission rate increasing across the entire province, and that is the case for Prairie as well, an area. There's an overall average of 30 missions per year in your area, which represents over $200,000 service value to your residents and area, approximately seeing 60% critical transfers from your local hospital and 40% rural scene calls. I've included ground transfers in order to let you have a look at what all is happening in your area, and the fact that many of ground ambulances deliver patients to your local hospital, and then STARS is called to be able to deliver that patient to a higher level of care. Everyone travels. We commute for work, we travel across the province or into your neighboring municipalities. So it's important to remember emergencies do not always happen close to home. Prairie residents have access to STARS across Western Canada, and Prairie and area is also served by 2 bases, the Grand Prairie base as well as the Edmonton base. And Prairie remains the #1 community that is served by the Grand Prairie base. And that is just evidence of our partnership. Municipal Initiative Partnership is vital to the sustainability of operations, and the green areas represent municipal supporters, including into northeastern BC. Alberta municipalities recognize STARS as an essential service. Approximately 90% of rural and urban municipalities are united in regional partnerships that support STARS, like the town of Prairie and Big Lakes County, plus your regional neighbors. Commitments are fixed on either a per capita basis or an annual fixed rate, and can range up as high as $90 per capita. We thank you for your commitment that has helped to generate over $2 million per year in sustainable funding. 7 municipalities outlined in the red boxes have received logo recognition for their unwavering support of STARS. And the massive undertaking of a $138 million fleet campaign seemed almost impossible, and of course not knowing at the time that we would also be amid a global pandemic. Federal, provincial, and municipal governments embraced the idea of having a fleet of 9 H145s to serve Western Canada for decades to come. We have received awe-inspiring support from corporate, dedicated individuals, and even municipalities that have pledged more than $1.8 million in voluntary fleet gifts in addition to their annual support. with anticipated proceeds that are yet to come from the sale of our previous aging fleet. This means that will leave approximately $4 million left to still be fundraised, so our fleet campaign continues. Okay, I'm having a lag here. It doesn't want to forward. There we go. Can you see that now, the breakthrough technology?
Yes, we can.
Okay. The new Airbus H145 is breakthrough technology. It outperforms the previous BK-117s in speed, range, and fuel efficiency. The cockpit features advanced avionics which will reduce pilot fatigue, especially beneficial in back-to-back missions. The unique tail delivers increased maneuverability and decreased noise and vibration. And the new 5-bladed system, which will be coming for the Grand Prairie and Edmonton area that serve your region, has significant safety features and reduced cost. We're excited for these final 2 H145s to arrive in the coming weeks. One for Grand Prairie, one for Edmonton. We expect pilot training to be completed in spring. It was delayed due to COVID, so we're very hopeful to have that completed so that we can anticipate being fully H145 operational by June or July of this year. On the right-hand side, this is the state-of-the-art airborne intensive care unit environment with the latest medical technologies. When you combine that with the world-class expertise of our STARS crew and our transport physicians working behind the scene to provide the medical oversight, this results in STARS providing the highest level of critical care available today. STARS was born out of necessity. We've been serving Albertans since 1985, more than 45,000 missions flown to date, and at no cost to our patients. A life is saved every day, and partnerships are what make this possible. We thank you, Town of High Prairie, for your life-saving partnership with STARS since 2008. Thank you for your long-standing support of $8,000 per year on a standing motion, which provides for STARS as a line item in your annual budgets. With the increasing demand for STARS, you continue to help provide STARS base operations with sustainable funding that we can rely on. Your partnership is vital to STARS' very existence. You are STARS' reason for being, and we thank you for being our partner. And thank you. I'll stop my screen share. And I also wanted to ask whether or not you've had the opportunity to possibly see the new TELUS documentary that celebrates our 15 years of serving northern residents from the Grand Prairie base. If you haven't had a chance to see it, please Google STARS Grand Prairie YouTube. It's about an hour and 10 minutes long, but it really celebrates our partnerships and all of the comings together of everyone, and it also features your previous counselor, Michael Long, who was also one of our STARS VIPs or very important patients. So please, if you have a chance, please have a look at it, and we thank you again and celebrate having partnership with the Town of High Prairie.
All right, thank you for the presentation, Linda, and I'm just going to open it up to our council to see if they have any questions for you. And anybody with? No, I'm looking around and I don't see any questions.
Well, if there is any questions that arise, you know how to get a hold of me, and I am your liaison, so I will continue to work closely with your council, and I very much look forward to seeing each and every one of you in person for the next update.
All right, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you for your support.
Have a good evening.
You as well.
Okay, so with that, we'll move on to public delegations. And I believe, I think we have one. So I will just let you sort of introduce yourself and what you're here to talk about, and then I'll let you go.
Okay, so my name is Rena Cunningham. I live not far from St. Andrew's School. I work there as a substitute, and I've lived here since I got married to my husband, who has been born here.
Okay.
So, I promise I'm not someone who dislikes to complain all the time. I want to start by saying I'm not here to attack anyone or anything like that. I'm just hoping to find a positive outcome because, as we all know, this last 2 years has been absolutely pretty treacherous to some families, mine included. And, you know, we're all struggling. And I understand that, you know, I'm sure there comes to some costs to the town too. That's one of my questions actually is how has COVID affected the high Prairie costs, like the town council costs, for reasons why our costs need to go up. And I also want to start by saying I'm someone who believes that government and council is there to serve the people and take care of their people, and this town is very much full of so many people who are passionate and all about keeping it in town and, you know, high Prairie pride and all that stuff. And so I just want to make sure that you guys have our actual best interests in heart. There's a lot of people who feel the same way as me. So first is, of course, the town bills. I'm very aware of the temperatures, minus 30, 40, the freezer we've been living in. I understand that, of course, is going to make the gas go up in our consumption and things like that. I'm aware of this. But the bills are, with COVID and even without COVID, we can't afford it. It's more than half of my mortgage, and I know that for other people it's hard. We have the high cost of our groceries and the high cost of our utility bills paired with our high cost of power. And I just feel, even with our insurance, it's unfair for people to keep increasing the cost of things that we have no choice but to pay for. Like, it's not something that we choose. We need water, we need gas, we need power, we need groceries. And it's getting to a point where we can't meet this cost of living. So, question one is, when are you guys planning to up your basic rates? And I would like to make, I don't want that to happen. Nobody does.
Okay, so.
I've heard that you guys are planning to increase your base charges.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rod or Rita, but I believe as of January 1st, there was a couple of the base rates went up, and like the gas went up. The base rate was $5 a month more. So your base rate was $20 a month, and it went up to $25 a month.
Okay, and that was January 1st?
Yes.
Okay.
But I think the other big thing that I notice on mine, a big time difference on my utility rate is the gas is huge now, right? Like and I'm sure everybody is noticing that huge increase on their tax bill from gas, and that's not that the town has raised their rates, but we buy our gas from a gas co-op, and their rates have gone up, and the rates have gone up not just in, you know, high Prairie, but across Alberta, across Canada. In fact, it's a global increase in a lot of the areas. So.
Yes. I've also noticed that it increases conveniently in the winter months when, of course, we use more.
Well, and
which is extremely unfair.
I know, and I did some reading on all of those things when it was going up, and they're blaming the the gas producers is saying it's a supply and demand issue, just like it seems like every long weekend, the price of gasoline goes up for your car. And it's I mean, we as the town don't control that price, the global price of gas. We do, for the distribution and getting it from, when we get it to the town and to distribute it to all of the homes and stuff and maintain your gas meters and all of that. We do add on a surcharge onto the costs that we get, but that surcharge has not changed since 2010. So it's been the same rate for 12 years.
Yeah, I've noticed, like, I went back into my 2016 bills and they haven't changed a whole lot. So my question is, what are you guys paying per GI for gas?
Now, and maybe I'll get Rod to answer it. I know it's a variable rate with whatever the rate is that we can get it for. We add on the $1.60 and that's what it goes. And that rate varies month by month. And I'll let our CAO speak on that a little bit more. I don't know what the rate is for now.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. So it's, we charge $1.60 above what the wholesale price is. So every month, our wholesaler attempts to get the best prices they possibly can. We get reports basically every month or every couple months showing how we compare to some of the others. And our provider is usually the lowest of the comparators.
Okay.
So
So if you guys are paying, let's say you're buying it at, say, $4, then you're charging us $5.60.
that's correct.
Okay, so then what are you guys paying for your meters per cubic?
It changes
For
every
water.
month. It changes.
I know it changes every month, but how much more, like, for example, like how much more are you guys charging us for our water than what you guys pay?
So water or,
Right now, it's 3.15
Okay,
that
so
you're
water-
paying, so how much do you guys pay for as a county?
so water, for example, so that's different than gas. So water, we control completely.
Yeah.
And actually water, we're actually in a deficit position. So every single time somebody turns on the tap, the town is actually losing money at this stage. So we are not on a cost recovery basis. So that's one of the things that went forward to council last year, is to try to get the rates that at least we're breaking even on water and sewer.
Okay, so
So-
you guys are not making any profit off of the water?
That's correct. Once you include depreciation, that type of stuff, there's a significant deficit,
Okay.
hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
Okay.
we just had a $1.2 million upgrade to our water treatment plant that we had to make to keep, to meet specifications. And when you add on those upgrading costs, it adds up in a big hurry.
Okay,
Yep.
and so, what was the other things that has increased this month for your base charges? Was it just the gas?
So,
You changed that to $25. That's a big jump.
so all three of the utilities, water, sewer, and gas,
Yeah.
went up $5 per month.
So why such a huge jump?
So on our water and sewer, we're actually losing money.
Yeah.
So what we're attempting to do is to be able for the utilities to actually pay for themselves so that future generations actually have water and sewer. So one of the things that's happening right now is property taxpayers, in effect, are actually subsidizing utilities. So there's a lot of property owners
So
that
that's
don't
why
pay
our
tax.
taxes have gone up,
So the,
to help even the water costs out? Cause
so,
my taxes went up a huge amount and my house ain't pretty.
so property taxes went up on average for every, the average was 2% last year. The year prior, there was a one-time rebate of just over about 8.5%. So in the past 2 years, property taxpayers have really seen a decrease. You add the 2 years of minus,
Mine went way up.
so 2 years ago, say the average person, council gave a one-time rebate of 1/12 or about 8.5%. That rebate came off last year, so that got added back on, and a 2% increase
Okay.
was applied. So really, the overall taxes over the last 2 years for the average person actually were basically about 6.5% less.
Are you
Right.
guys planning on to increase them again?
That's one of the things that council's talking about, in order to compensate for all the infrastructure out there. We lost about $1 million in grants over the last few years. So that $1 million has to be made up someplace. To ensure all the capital and investments like the roads, utilities, rec facilities, are all maintained.
Okay. So it is in fact that you guys need the money and it's not just, because I know that for a couple, I think it was a year or two ago, we are already, the town was saying, we don't have a lot of money, but then there was a motion that passed double the rate that you guys got paid to go to these meetings.
There was a motion, that
No.
motion never passed.
It never passed?
It, just so that you know, yeah, that motion never passed.
Okay.
Council hasn't had a change in pay, and I've been on council for over 8 years, and we haven't had an increase, and I know before that it was the same for 4 years or more.
Okay,
So
and that's
it's-
not just for, like, not your pay as your position, but to go to meetings, that hasn't
It
increased?
has not changed in over 8 years or more.
Okay,
I'm not sure when it last changed, but it's been a while.
so this federal fuel charge on our bill, is that the carbon tax?
Yes,
And that's all government?
yes.
And I know this is gonna sound silly, but just humor me. How can we fight that? Because this is a thing that is, the cost of living, I feel like the goal right now of the government is to put us all on the street. Insurance, food, these utility costs, power, nobody can afford this. We can't afford this. I have been paying which bill to pay for the last 2 years.
I really do sympathize, because I do know how hard it is right now with all of the increases in expenses. And COVID has raised up a lot of those costs, like you're talking about food and, and they're saying part of it, the repercussion on natural gas is that, the economy rebounding, and all of that is coming back on one rate here. And we also, as a community, we've lost lots in, as our CEO had mentioned, lots of our grants have been cut. And as a community, we are struggling and trying to find ways to keep taxes down and yet still keep the water running, the streets cleaned, and, those kinds of things,
Okay.
and gas going to your homes.
So we're not, go ahead.
One of the things that I think too that you can do as a citizen is to write a letter to your MLA,
Yeah.
addressing your concerns, document everything that you've seen, but not just your MLA, the MP for the federal government, because the federal government are the ones that are incorporating the tax on gas and stuff like that, to try to offset what they call the carbon tax and that kind
Yeah,
of stuff.
that carbon tax is,
It's eating people up. And
it's also a joke. What is it that they're actually fixing? Are they really fixing anything that's harmful for our environment? That money is going somewhere. I feel like we have become bank machines. The government is no longer serving the people.
Right.
And we're all getting quite tired of being bullied, and I honestly wanted to come here. Like, I had this silly idea of saying, hey, as a town, can we just pay our bill, put your money towards what you need it, but as a town, let's not pay that carbon tax charge. They can't arrest the whole town. I know that sounds silly, but I'm like, why can't we just stand up to this government? They're no longer serving the people. We're tired of being bullied. We can't afford this. I understand that they have, I just don't feel like they're being honest about a lot of things. I think that's obvious. And the reason why I came here, also is because I have been complaining a little bit in the past, and I figured it was time to put my money where my mouth is. And I did not have a lot of faith in the town because, we always pay, we pay our bills. We do not, like, we are very good, we'll try anything to get it done. Like, I've gotten a job that I never thought in a million years I would get. I'm a substitute teacher, I'm not even certified, and I've been there for 6 years. I did that because we needed to. My husband had pulled both of his shoulders, and I could not make my utility payment to the town. I paid half of it as a base payment, and before my month was up, wasn't even one full month left, I had the notice on my door for a shut-off. I had to pay the rest of that and the next month's bills. So when I called, they said, they were completely unwavering and quite rude, and said, well, would you like a copy of the town bylaws, ma'am? So I made a half-faith payment, wasn't even a full month late, and I had to pay the next one and that was in winter. So I felt that they just didn't care. That was one of the reasons why too, that I came, because I wanted to make sure that you guys are in our best interest.
I appreciate you coming in. It is, I can assure you that the people around this table are all here to do what we can to make High Prairie the best we can be. Yeah, and there's lots of tough decisions in getting there, and we don't always agree on how to get there and what is the best, but we are trying our best for the residents of High Prairie. And like I say, it's great that you came in, and it's nice to hear when you do have concerns and to hear them directly. So yeah, thank you very much for coming in.
Well, I appreciate you allowing me to speak and come in. Just one last question. So why did the gas base rate charge to go up 5? It's just also just to try and help subsidize the other ones? Are you guys planning on increasing it again anytime soon?
Sorry, I missed the first part.
Are you guys planning on increasing your base rates again anytime soon, since you just did it in January?
Yeah, that was it, right? I don't think there's another increase for, the base rate won't be going up for gas.
Yeah, gas, I believe that is staying the same, the gas is staying the same. But there will be increases in sewer and water, and then,
Oh, so the
Each
gas
year.
one did not go up $5?
yeah, no, the gas one did, January 1st.
Okay.
All three of the utilities,
Yeah.
gas, they went up $5.
Yeah.
2023, there won't be any increase in gas, but there will be an increase in water and sewer.
Again, another $5.
Yeah.
So it's just gonna get.
5 and 4, I think.
Pardon me?
$5, I think $4.
Hmm.
Water, I think's 5, and sewer, I think's 4.
And is there anything we can do about that? That we just have to kind of take that? If things get better and you guys aren't in such a deficit, are you guys gonna not increase it?
Like, I think one of the things that, I know is difficult to swallow, but one of the problems, as the mayor's indicated, we're lost in excess of $1 million per year. That money's not there. Just like how everybody's food bills and stuff goes up, so does the municipalities. Everything that we pay for, it goes up too. And the town doesn't make a profit. We know, and I encourage people to actually look at the budget documents. Right now, if we were to buy everything that was in their capital plan for the next 5 years, you know, and there's gonna be changes, but these are things that need to be done. There's basically a $15 million deficit.
Okay.
And 15, just to put it in perspective, if we raise taxes 1%, that's only $35,000. So somehow, we've got to figure out how to pay for all the roads. There's 2 lift stations, that's utilities, that's really, really important. To pay for these things, we got to find a way, because we need to have a lift station, we need to have utilities and pipes, we need to have roads. And that's what this council's struggling with. How are we going to pay for all this? So we've got to council's got to make some really difficult
I
decisions.
completely understand how that works. we can't afford to pay more house taxes, we can't afford to pay anymore. But I understand if the town is struggling and stuff, I just wish there were, because I feel like there's nothing that we can do. And we just kind of have to take it. Okay, well, thank you for hearing me.
Yes, thank you for coming in.
All right.
Thank you for coming in and bringing your concerns forward. I know it's not easy to come and sit in front of council and bring those concerns forward. I thank you for that, and as you've heard, as council goes forward regarding the budget, there's tough decisions that unfortunately we're being forced to make due to downloading of services by the government, loss of government funding, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I know people want their water to flush and flow and gas to flow and clean streets to drive on, but unfortunately there's costs to those, and we would like to maintain those, but
Well, yeah, that,
we have to look at viable funding to maintain those.
mhm. Yeah, I definitely understand there is cost, absolutely. One more question I have, knowing the struggles that the town is having, for example, those, excuse my opinion, hate me if you like, but those lamps by the post office that kept getting busted and replaced, we're not putting any more finances to silly things like that, are we? Like, we should just be focusing on getting everything copacetic, not on wasteful things?
I don't know what we're doing with the lamps by the post office, I'm
Well,
not sure.
just putting them in, they didn't need to be there, it was a waste of money. Just wanna make sure we're not putting things towards things that we don't need at all, but it doesn't sound to me like you guys are.
Yeah, and I mean, we've had, like vandalism does cost us money and time. I mean, earlier in the year, there was people removing manhole covers and vandalizing signs, and you're talking about vandalism of the lights, like I am, all of those things cost us money, and they can be a safety hazard, and.
Yeah,
as
that
much
part
as
should
we can-
definitely be fixed, just not putting in things like lamps by a post office stuff. But if anything should get fixed, it should be the JC Park trails, because everyone uses them, and they are horrible tripping hazard. Anyways, okay, I will let you guys get to it. I could go on for hours.
Yes, and we, just so you know, normally unscheduled delegations are only 5 minutes,
Yeah.
but we don't get a lot in, so when someone does come in, I like to give them the time to speak, but.
I appreciate that.
So, thank you, and.
You guys have a good evening.
Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, I see Peter, not coming in.
I not her,
Oh,
because most of what she said is gone.
all right, and we'll ask Chris if he's got anything in there. No? All right. All right, we'll move on, and we have already passed 5.1 and 5.2, so we're moving on to 6.1, the cancellation of the penalties. And we'll start and get a motion on this one, and then we can have some discussion. Okay.
I move the council receive this penalty cancellation request.
Okay, thank you. And I did have a question on this, just more on process. Is, I noticed that there was a 2% per month. I'm just wondering where that number comes from. Is that a number that we have established in the fee bylaw, that if you're late, it's 2% a month?
I don't think it's another bylaw other than the fees bylaw.
Oh, okay, so that
It
is
isn't a
something that
bylaw.
we've got established, and when does that end? Like, does it go on forever, 2% a month forever, or is there an end date to it?
The end is when we move it over to taxes.
Okay, so
when
once
it
it goes to
transfers.
taxes, then it's subjected to the, I believe we said 14%, or what we're talking about there, okay. So that could go on for a year, that's the 24% that
Yeah.
goes up, and then it could be another 14% to keep going, right? Okay. Counselor Stenhouse.
So unfortunately, I'm unable to hear what people are saying. All I can hear is you. Can you tell me what the motion was?
The motion was to receive it for information.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'll try to get you so that I can repeat the key things, or let me know when you can't hear something important. Okay, anything else on this particular one to ask about? Now, he was only penalized, it was just the initial 20% or 21%. That's what he's asking for. And those notices that go to him, like I said, those monthly notices, did it include as the rates as they went up? They showed it was going up each month by 2%?
So the statement shows the interest penalty, and so yes, it does.
It showed the interest. Okay, so he knew it was going up and didn't react till later. Okay. Any other questions, comments on this one? Seeing none, we had a motion to receive for information. All in favor? It is carried. Moving on to 6.2, operating and capital budgets.
What? We're missing the attachment, we're missing,
Well, my agenda after 6.1 is 6.2. What am I missing? Sorry.
mine 6.2 is request to waive fees,
That's
the full amount.
That's the attachment to this other report.
Oh, okay, because I thought this was the penalty, this is the fee. Okay,
This is just attached, the attached.
okay, never mind, my mistake. Okay,
Oh, I see what you're, yeah, on my agenda it says 6.2, but on the agenda itself.
yeah, okay, I thought that was two separate ones. Okay,
Yeah, we included, administration included the RFP for the inquiry, and as history, we included the previous RFP that came forward almost a year ago. So it's kind of confusing the way they're numbers, but it's just attaching the 2021 RFP. That's what we
Okay,
did,
so
to give you some
that's-
history.
That's the 2021 RFP.
Yeah.
That's right, it
That's
just
why,
happens to be
and
that,
it was numbered 6.2, which just is very.
it makes it very, very
Yeah.
confusing,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, got it, yeah.
all right,
Coincidentally.
yeah.
So we are moving on to item 6.2, the operating and capital budgets. And I know sometimes it's often awkward to do it with our budget discussions, but let's start with a motion and then we can open up the debate and go from there. So who would like to make a motion to get this started? Councillor Dunn?
The council will amend, are we, is that where we're at? Or you want them to recommended action? The council amend the 2022 operating budget and approve the revised 22 budget with operating revenues of $11,328,146, operating expenses of $9,866,942, Principal on long-term debt, $355,009. Capital reserves, $794,450. Capital reserves, $377,245. Unrestricted fund operating expenses from the operating reserve of $65,500.
Okay, thanks for the motion, and then we can have some more discussions on this. And I know we had the budget meeting on January 15th. And so I'm not sure where we left off. We weren't quite done, and we were getting to the point at that point where we wanted to look sort of ahead and what was the pictures. But what are you looking for here, Rod, at this?
So overall, I think the prime objective, at least for, I think, administration, is to get a 2022 operating interim budget passed. We know there's a lot of unknowns at this stage, especially in the capital side. Just to bring everybody up to speed again, we know that MPE is reviewing a lot of our public works stuff, so that's going to likely make changes to our capital side. And so with that, we're hoping within the next month or two we get that information. We know in a month or two the province is also going to reveal, what their budget is and what information or what funds they're going to transfer to municipalities. And so there's still some unknowns, but administration feels that if we can get the 2022 interim budget approved as presented, unless there's still some more discussion on a few things, that'll at least set the framework for us to move on to things that are contained within it. And in April, or March or April, once we have more knowns on the capital side, and also what the province is bringing down, then you'd have an opportunity if you wanted to, well, first of all, amend 22, you can, but it would also be maybe a good time to look at longer term capital and even operating. So we're basically suggesting let's get through the 22 operating tonight.
Okay.
There are a couple things that there are a lot of motions out there, especially on the sponsorship and grants. As council may recall, victim services is still out there, but there was a motion to go to intermunicipal, so there's a few pieces out there. STARS was another motion that came out of the last meeting. So no decision was made on what council wanted to do with the STARS request of $8,000 per year. So that's a decision, I guess, that could be made tonight, because you did hear from their presentation. So that's where we're at. So I think you can, if you want to, I guess one thing you could talk about is STARS, if you want to change that. But still, ultimately, at the end of the day, you can change the whole sponsorship and donations now, or you could wait until April until you find out more from victim services, etc.
Okay, well, I think we should nail down as many of the loose ends as we can, because there are a few things that we are not going to be able to finalize for sure. Like you said, there'll be a few things coming. But if we can nail down those items that we want to address, at least we get those done. Go from there. I see nods around the table, so let's start with the STARS then.
Well, should we not vote on the motion that's on the table?
Well, I think this is going to impact the motion that's on the table, and it will ultimately, we might have to change that motion at the end, or defeat it, or change it. But our system is such that we start with a motion just to get the discussion going, right? Yeah. So, go ahead.
So, there's a couple of options here, and let's say we wanted to also put the motion of, that council directs with respect to our capital projects from Big Lakes County. How do we make that? Do we make that as a separate motion altogether, or is it in addition to what Council Dunn has made? So, the council directs intermunicipal committee to request Big Lakes County to resume the capital project funding. How do we get that in there?
Yeah, we could certainly make that motion to bring it forward.
After this one gets
Yeah.
voted?
Okay, so, let's start with stars and deal with that. We've been donating, $8,000 a year for the last few years. You had the presentation today. You can see they're hurting like everybody else too, but, where are people at with this one? I see Councillor Stenhouse shaking her head. Did you want to address council? Go ahead. Oh, you're still muted though, Judy. There you go.
Okay, so we have to get real serious about this. There are some lines here that I highlighted that I'd like to bring to everyone's attention. That the sports palace has doubled over its estimate. Our capital budget, we committed 1.9 million, but we need 2.4. And there's a couple lines here. There is a need for taxpayers in Big Lakes County to contribute to the capital maintenance program to keep the municipality sustainable. In order to keep our town going, we have to cut somewhere, and our grants and sponsorship fund is the one place where we have control over it. I'd like to bring that down to about $5,000. We can only do what we can do. And you had someone there as a public delegation that was telling you how hard times are. Are we not listening to our constituents and our ratepayers? Everyone is hurting. So to collect money, to give it away to charities, I can't vote for that.
Okay. Councillor Danaka?
At our last budget meeting, that was sort of something that I had stated, that we have control over our sponsorship, to reduce that, but I completely agree with Councillor Stenhouse, but as far as stars is concerned, I think that's something that we should still maintain. The rest, giving it away to charities. I know I made the motion to do the Dolphins, but again, I look at that as they bring money to the town in terms of tournaments, etc. We approved, I believe, the horseshoe tournament. Again, that brings revenue and people to our town who stay in hotels, eat at restaurants, buy gas, groceries, etc. So, I guess what I'm saying is that I would like to still support stars, and the ones that we agreed to support, the Dolphins and the Horseshoe Club, and then just reduce our capital, or sorry, reduce our sponsorship from there.
Okay. I'm trying to, I can't remember, I'd love to be able to have that list of what we've donated to in the past, and I know it was in one of our other packages, and I was kind of flipping through it to see if, I'm finding it here now.
It's in-
I think, is it, sponsorship was page 73 of our January 15th meeting, is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay, I knew we had it, I just couldn't find it at the time.
It's a, yes.
And I believe it was the Prairie District Golf Club that was carried over from 15,000 carried forward from 2021.
Yeah.
On page
Yes.
72?
That was carried
There's
over.
the, oh, that was, yeah, okay.
And like we've had grants and sponsorships at $1,500 for the rodeo. We had, we made donations to $250 to the gun show. That was more of a sponsorship or just the fee to put a booth in. So that was a choice to put a booth in. We've had the High Prairie District Food Bank, we just donated to them $3,700 just the other day, so that's another one. New business acknowledgements, well, that's embedded. Those are ones that we haven't really, the FCSS volunteer appreciation, we've done the education bursaries, the seniors bus, doctor's residence, cemetery maintenance. We've done the Chamber of Commerce rent. We've done other things that there's a lot of little things that we've done in kind. I'm trying to look for the main ones that we've donated to. Am I missing any there? That seems to get them. How come I don't see stars on this one and when I'm looking here? Because I know we've done them.
Well, they're on the page to the left,
Oh, okay.
72.
Oh, right, request 8, sorry, there it is, yeah. So we had a request from Stars for 8,000, a request from Victim Services for 20,000, and the High Prairie Golf Club, as you'd mentioned, was $15,000. They would like to spend that in 2022. And then they would have a different request in 2023. So again, we've heard from a couple about STARS funding. Anybody else? Because that's the one we wanted to sort of, I guess, deal with. Go
I
ahead.
guess one thing I noticed was, or through the presentation was, that the need was up in the area. And it serves a large area. So I was looking at, some of the locations that they've dealt with over the past year. And it's all around our area. So, it's serving a wide area for sure. So I guess looking at those numbers for the years, the needs are going up. I really don't feel that we can work with that full amount of 8,000. I think we should try and have the ability to give some, whether that's, I know 5,000 is mentioned, I believe. I mean, even if we work it down to half, but it's really like it's a health and safety for the area. It's not just money that's going to a nice to have. When it's needed, it really is needed, and it has saved lives in the past. So, I'm not saying we shouldn't give anything. I think we can reduce what we're giving, definitely. But there's definitely a need, and it serves the people of the area when you absolutely need them the most. I'm not saying it's always local, but it's within, for the town and the people it's on, so.
Councilor Dunn?
I just go back to return on investment. And so when you're looking at their graph, just the two, so you're looking at just specifically High Prairie in terms of critical inter-facility transfers, 16, and High Prairie C, 5. So that's 21. So that's less than, and we're giving $8,000, right? And that's less than like $500 per incident, right? The return on investment for that is incredible. And so I'm saying, like, I know we have to make cuts somewhere, but let's be conscientious of our return on investment and what that means for our community as well.
Okay. Okay, just a sec, did you?
I hear you, Councillor Dunn, I hear you, Councillor Tanaka. Look, STARS has been a thing that we've contributed to as communities for the last, in my personal world, for the last 20 years since I was, the STARS lottery, personal things, but also through municipalities. Couple of things, I think it's an invaluable service. I think that, let's say we dropped our $8,000 contribution this year because of the way things are to zero, let's just say hypothetically, STARS would not stop. STARS would not stop the 16 plus 5 pickups here. STARS gets funded through many things. One of the things I heard Glenda say was in the 2020 year, they still are receiving the 20% support, government support. Big Lakes County also contributes. And one of the things that we forget, and I dealt with this previously in my previous life, we double dip with STARS. We gave as High Prairie would, but AUMA or Alberta municipalities also donates and we contribute there. So it's kind of like we're double giving to STARS. And look, when times are good, I think let's be charitable, but right now, that $8,000 matters. I love the fact that we're moving to the Airbus H145 and there's so many things that STARS is doing. If we pull our 8,000 funding this year, those things don't stop just for the year. We have ratepayers here that are struggling, our costs are rising, and they're still receiving government support. And we'll continue to from other municipalities around us that maybe have wealthier coffers than ours this year. So for that reason, I also think we're giving through other means, through our contributions to groups like Alberta municipalities. So I realize how sensitive STARS is and how much of a lifesaver it is. But I don't see that the $8,000 that High Prairie contributes is in jeopardy of STARS going away. So for that reason, I would support pulling that sponsorship funding.
Okay, I really see both sides of the story in that STARS is a valuable resource for our community. It is a great thing. On the flip side of it, I also see that, there's some municipalities that don't contribute, other ones do. So why are we one of the ones that are contributing to make it work and other ones aren't, and we're paying some of their share, right? I mean, when you look at the map, you can see that most municipalities are contributing in one way, shape, or form. So it's a tough one. They're a great service, but I also know, as mentioned, they're not going to likely stop just because we do it. But if we do it, and then the next municipality does it, and the next one, then what happens, right? This is tough, and it's a good service. For me, I would be maybe a little bit more along the lines of Councillor Leshishin is saying, okay, maybe we make it less money, but keep it, because I do think it's valuable. I don't know, when I've talked to residents, they're never upset that we contribute to STARS as a function. So yeah, we do have residents that we do need to bring down the costs in some way, shapes, or form, and that's tough decisions. There's nothing easy in this. So for me, I'm sort of at keep funding them, but perhaps at a lower level. Like maybe we go to half of that, 4,000 or something along, or we were at $2 per capita before, which would have been running us around 5,000. So I would lean towards that, sort of back to our older rates. I know that's where I'd be. All right, so to move ahead, I guess we need, again, we have this budget discussions, and we have an issue within the bigger issues, so we have to deal with that. Do we throw out our normal protocols and just go to these individual issues, which what we were talking about before. Is council all right with that, with dealing with some of these? I'm seeing nods. Okay. So perhaps at this time, I'll ask Councillor Dunn if he would remove his motion.
I will rescind
Yeah.
my motion. Do I need to read that whole thing?
No, no, that's good. We know what you're doing. So would somebody like to make a motion regarding stars? Oh, okay. Okay, go ahead.
No, if you have a motion.
Well, I was gonna make one up, but.
Okay, well, that's it. I will make a motion that we move to, cut what we, donate to them.
Keep it positive that we're
Oh,
gonna
wait.
fund stars.
So
to the
let's,
amount.
yeah, let's move to, fund stars, for $4,000 this year. And we'll relook at it next year.
Okay, let's, any other discussion on this one? I see Councillor Stenhouse.
If I'm correct, you made a motion to fund stars at $4,000?
That's correct, yes.
And is that for 1 year, or is that for 4 years, or 12 years, or
It was,
lifetime of my Prairie?
it was for 1 year.
So are we listening to our people that are struggling? We have had emergency departments shut down for 3 days. Is that not an essential service? We have to get our priorities straight here. And I know in my heart of hearts, we have to do this, so let's just rip the Band-Aid off and say, I'm sorry, but we can't afford it until we get back on our feet.
Okay. Any other comments on this one before we vote? Seeing none. All right, all in favor? 1, 2, 3. Opposed? 1, 2, 3. So that motion is defeated. All right, so anybody want to make another motion? But I don't know if that'll go anywhere further. Councillor Tanaka.
I make a motion to suspend STARS funding for the 2022 year and revisit it in 2023.
Okay. Well, I'm just thinking ahead to where I think the vote's gonna go and what's gonna happen and what do we end up doing here. Councillor Stenhouse.
Could you repeat that motion? I didn't hear it.
Certainly, the motion was to suspend funding for 2022 to STARS.
And revisit it in 2023.
And revisit it in 2023. Okay, any other discussion on this one? Okay, in favor? 1, 2, 3. Opposed? Well, that's where I thought I was going. That's where I could see it going. And we need our 7th person here today, right? That's why they keep it with odd numbers. Well, that's what I was just trying to think. How do we get around this in another way to
Can we
balance
move
this?
to, make the decision when we have full council?
Yes, that's a good idea. So, oh, yeah,
I'll make a motion that we reserve this decision to.
Table it.
Or table it to our next council meeting when we have full council.
so the motion, just for you, Judy, was to table the motion until we have all of our council? so that we have a tiebreaker in there. Because both of those motions were defeated. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so if they're defeated, why are we bringing it back? Other motions that have been defeated, they've been defeated and they cannot return for another year without more information. So why are we gonna keep hashing this out?
Okay, well then, we're trying to decide what to do with the budget, and we don't have a decision on STARS. We have no decision to fund them, and we have no decision to not fund them.
We do have a decision, it was defeated, that we were not funding them this year.
Yes.
That was defeated.
And then we had a motion to fund them before for $4,000, and that was defeated.
So it still comes to zero, no matter, it means zero funding for this year with both motions.
But the motion to fund them at zero was defeated. That means that we should be funding them. You see, I see this circle, I'm not sure how we get out of the cycle here.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion.
Well, no, we have a motion on the floor already. And that's to table this until we have all of council here, that's the motion right now. Any other discussion on it, or am I missing something? Like, somebody help me out here, I'm not sure how to handle this one. Anybody got, like, I think that's as good a suggestion as any on this one. Yeah, okay. Okay, we have the motion to rescind until our next council meeting, or when everybody is in attendance, all the council's in attendance. All in favor? I say, okay, Donna was half up, I'm not sure if I say yay or nay.
Well, I can see Judy's point. We have a motion to not fund them, and then we have a motion not to fund them for 4,000, so basically we're not funding them, right?
No, to
So to me, that makes sense.
No, because you can't choose, just because you guys have said not to fund them, that was defeated. So then there needs to be a number attached to it,
Okay.
right?
Well, I think actually, right now, like, there's 39,000 in donations and sponsorship in the budget. Right now, administration made no recommendations on where that money should go. So right now, as it stands, yeah, it's 39,000, because that was also the 2021 amount. So 39,000, and council has done 1,000 to the Dolphins, carry forward on the golf, and $5,000 for the Horseshoe Club. So right now, in 2021, you've committed $6,000 of the 39. So that's the official piece. So right now, you still have $33,000 in this budget amount. That's where it is, and you haven't given any other money away. So I would say right now, if everything stopped right now, administration would not cut a check to STARS. That's how it is, I think, like, right now. But if everything was passed, there's still $33,000 left in that budget that council has the discretion to do with what you so choose over the next 11 months.
Okay, so we're, like, basically, I guess you're looking at it as a bigger picture, we're trying to narrow that budget down closer to get there. And out of that 39, we haven't been spending it all in the past. A lot of that's been carried over and put into reserves at the end of the year, because we haven't used it, right? Like, that's the flip side of this, so. I see, I don't know how to go, so we could leave this and nail it down, but, I mean, STARS has put in a request, they need an answer on whether we're not gonna fund them, right? Like, that's the end of the day, they want a request, they put in a request to know for $8,000 for 4 years. But we need to get back to them, that's their request. So what do we tell them when we get back to them? that we're still deciding, or that it's not funded, like, yeah.
I mean, right now, just throw out some ideas, what you could do. You could, I know they want a decision now, right, because they've got to do a business plan, that type of thing, but, still, at the end of the day, it is a donation, so, you could hold off until the April, like the March, April, you could do that, when you're finalizing everything. Like, say that's just one option, I'm not saying it's, but I know you're at like a stalemate right now, I don't know.
Perhaps we need to look at the bigger picture and just say, okay, what do we want to put in the budget as a line number for sponsorships and grants? Should it be 39,000 or should it be 20,000 or 25,000, right? And then we can decide on where it goes afterwards. Maybe, we could deal with that bigger picture. I'm throwing out ideas on how to get through this budget, but not sure of the best process. We're doing it differently than we have before, but Councillor Danaka?
Because I know in the past, and I think it was our CIO who said that very few municipalities have sponsorship. Correct? Or give out,
Well, no, I think a lot of municipalities do, like when you, like just things like Horseshoe Club, and summer games and winter games and all that, that's all some form of a donation or gift in kind. Like, I don't wanna focus just on one word, because I think it's all one bigger piece, but, I think municipalities give to a lot of entities, but it is difficult where you start drawing the line. Like, they do lots of the sponsorship on the, sports activities and arts and festivals. I know that most municipalities give to those types of things. It starts when you start getting down into smaller things like, minor hockey and stuff, that gets a little tighter. I haven't seen too many on that side. But things like this, stars, well, as we heard earlier, I think there was 90, I can't remember, 90% or something that give the stars. So.
Yeah, there are lots, I know, talking with other municipalities, many of them do give grants to organizations, but I don't know what the number is. I know that there are certainly some, but yeah, how much, I don't know.
And there's lots of grants given to things like the Golden Age, right? We're providing them with the building. Well, that's very common in most jurisdictions. You're giving different entities an asset to manage. So it's kind of off your inventory. So it is kind of a donation. So there's countless ways.
Yeah.
So so back to, I guess, the struggle with the question. And council can go both ways, right? You can just make a change right now and drop it to 30,000, or like see if that's a comfortable number, or you still can wait till April. But you still have the victim services that's outstanding, right? That was an ask of 20,000, and you know there's gonna be several other asks along the way, like smaller ones, but rodeo, gun show, things are gonna happen with COVID, but you're gonna get a lot more. So you can wait till April, you can reduce it now, and then we've got a budget number, you've got a target in April to work from. And you can deal with requests as they come in.
Okay, I'll open it up. What do council want to do? I mean, we're not talking big numbers here. It's not going to make a huge difference in our budget when we're talking about $39,000. But it would make, I mean, actually 30,000, it's 1%, right? So I guess it is a bit of a number. But at the end of the day, our you know, what we are doing with our budget is looking at how much money do we wanna put into reserves. We've sort of looked at the operating budget and we're fine with that. The big key is how much money do we wanna put in reserves? We've got, the operating budget is down to bare bones. It's how much do we want to put into reserves to use for capital? Because as we've heard, we've got this huge need for capital spending, and we don't have anywhere near the funds to fund that capital spending. So whatever we decide to do for a budget, and if there's a tax increase, it's all end up, at the end of the day, it's going to those capital reserves. So we could say, you know, we don't want to have any increases, and we could do it. It's not going to hurt our ratepayers in the day-to-day operations for this year. But at some point, all of that deferred maintenance is going to catch up, right? Like that's the big decision that we've got to make as council. So that's the biggest decision. So for me, when I'm looking at this issue, I'm okay with leaving this money in the budget for now. We can decide if we want to keep it for grants a little later, and if we don't, it's going to go into reserves, and it's needed in there along with a lot of other money. So that's, I mean, we can leave it. The flip side of that is, you know, maybe we, like Judy said, rip the Band-Aid off and just say it's gonna go into reserves now, or, you know, and we're not going to cover sponsorship anymore. So that's the, do we want to keep going on this, or do we want to leave it in for now and take the Band-Aid off a little bit at a time? Councillor Stenhouse.
So if you fast forward into the agenda, there's a line there that says, the town is at risk of increasing asset failures and increased maintenance costs due to dated assets. We already fund SCSS, which is a community program that helps out in all kinds of organizations. It's kind of like, we have two funds going on here. We are funding SCSS, who sponsors community stuff, and then we have another fund of sponsorships and grants. We have to buckle down and replace some of our assets, and it's not a matter of how much do we want to put in reserves. We have to rip the Band-Aid off. We can't do this. We can't do this anymore. We've been doing this for years and years. It's been in the coming, so just rip the Band-Aid off. We can't do it. That's it.
All right. Councillor Dunn?
So I have a question, why then those years and those years, why then now? Why are we making the decision to do it when we've gone years and years and years and haven't done it? And so, like, you know, were we waiting to see a more profitable year, or what was happening? And I guess that's what we're saying when we say wait until April, because then we can see the provincial budget. And you know, it's interesting, and maybe it's because I'm new, and you know, that I'm questioning why now when we've gone years and years and years without doing it. And so I just, you know, help me, give me some perspective.
Judy will.
Councillor Stenhouse?
I actually heard what Councillor Dunn had said, because years ago, people had full-time jobs, secure jobs. With COVID hit, people fell behind times have changed and people are in different circumstances now. How are you gonna explain this to the person that's cut off serve and can't afford to buy the groceries for the month? Well, we're gonna collect $29,000 and we're gonna donate for that to STARS on your behalf.
Okay.
Okay, so 3 points to make here. One, going back slightly to, someone made a point here, saying, hey, look, maybe Rod, it was you, that 90% contribute to STARS. Well, let's not be in the business of comparison, right? I mean, I don't want to compare us to anyone else. We have to look at us. We have our ratepayers, our responsibilities, and our line items and our books to balance. It doesn't matter if someone's wealthier or, we just need to focus on us in this particular case. The second point, kind of, following that, is that sponsorships are a nice to have. Lift stations, roads, utilities are a must-have, and I think that there's things that we have to get done. And thirdly, again along the same lines, we're not saying that this is going to be forever. I mean, if we cut sponsorships this year in 2022, it doesn't mean that we can't bring it back in 2023 when times are better, or perhaps, the doors, economic doors will open, perhaps our April provincial and federal funding will be generous, perhaps our intermunicipal committee will be successful in getting Big Lakes County to contribute, where the last 3 years, we've seen no, 2 or 3 years, we've seen no contribution. Those things might change our trajectory in 2023, but for this year, our budgets have to reflect the hardships and the changes that we need to make, and I think that, they're not, we've got to look at must-have items and nice-to-have and wants, and I'm for reducing our sponsorships. I don't know, someone threw out a number, 5,000, and work within that. And we can't compare, let's stop comparing ourselves to the other 90% of municipalities. We're not them. We have our own issues to deal with.
Okay, Councillor Dunn?
I'm just gonna leave this out there, and it's, you go to those 21 people, and you ask them whether $500 for their life was worth it. What do you think their response is going to be? So when we go, oh, it's a charity? No. We're talking about more than a charity, right? We're talking about a service that increases the quality of life and ensures life for individuals and has impacted our community that way. So when we make that decision, it comes down to those things. And I'm going, we have run on deficit. We definitely have things that need to be upgraded. But do you take away from something that has been proven to impact our community in a meaningful way? Because those things need to be dealt with. Like I mean, it's impacted our town council. Like we've been made aware that one of our town councilors benefited from the service. And so I'm just going, how are we comparing things here? But because 39,000, like I'm going, if we take 19,000 and throw it in reserve, it leaves 20,000. Still means that we have some money to give in this situation. But that's my final thought.
Councillor Nishishin?
Yeah, I'll say it again, the health and safety of people, I think is paramount, and they've proven to save lives. I think that means, I really think that means something. Again, maybe the 8,000 at this time and for this year where things are at, no, I don't agree with that in that. I think we can make something in there, but I don't think we can what we have in the past, granted. But again, the safety of people and the huge benefits of saving lives that it does, I think it's very important for town itself. And I'll leave it at there too.
Yeah, Councillor Martins brings up the big questions of wants and needs, and, I mean, you can carry that further and say, you know, all recreation and everything else is a want. It's not a need. I mean, like the water, the gas, the sewer, those are the needs. Those are the real needs, and there should be something. But, boy, if we get down there, I think you're really losing some of the quality of life if you go, you know, if you carry that too far. That's, I know where we're going. That's, to me, it worries me a little bit. Maybe we need to get there at some point, but boy, I hope we're not at that point yet, where we lose everything else that improves the quality of life, so makes High Prairie an enjoyable place to live. But we do have those big expenses, and I don't have an answer on how we're gonna fund those. I don't. I mean, you sit there and you look, and maybe I keep hoping for more grants and stuff from the government, but I know we're not the only community in that situation. There's communities all over Alberta in the same situation as us, so how do we make that work? Not really sure. But going back to, sorry, we've been going around this for a while, and it's a good topic. But how do we bring this to an end? We have a motion on the floor from Councillor Dunn to deal with, to table the motion until all the council is back. That's one. We've also had discussions on what we should do with this budget at this point in time, so we still haven't nailed that down. Now, I guess.
I could rescind my motion, and if we want to deal with the bigger picture, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, I just want to get, I need some direction here on how to bring this together in a nicer package, because I'm struggling a little bit about how we bring this together, or do we do a vote? Like, we can deal with that, we can pass yours or not pass it, we can vote on it. But then we're gonna go to the other question. So maybe that's what we do. We deal with your motion, then we can talk about what we wanna do with the number in this particular line item, because it's one line item that we need to deal with. Does that make sense? Does that seem to work? Okay, well, let's do that. The first one is to table the motion on STARS funding till next council meeting, or till all councillors are present. All right, all in favor of that? Opposed? Okay, that's defeated.
We're not gonna get anywhere. Like, I understand your struggle, but I don't know how to get there, but I think every motion is gonna be a 3-3, just from listening to what people have said. So, I mean, I don't know how to get past this so we can move on.
So there's two ways. So it sounds like this one, the decision's not going to be made on STARS, at least at this point. You can do one more and see if the vote, you want to change that 39,000. Or alternatively, as the mayor's indicated, you can leave it at the 39,000. At the end of the day, if any request that comes forward for that money comes through this group anyways. And if the money isn't spent, it's going to go into reserves. So that is one option. Like, you could just basically say we're not making a decision on STARS tonight. Victim Services is still floating out there. I'll wait to see what happens at the intermunicipal, etc. So you can do that. Or somebody can make a motion to see if we want to reduce that 39,000 to something different, and then you've made at least one decision. So you've got to, I think that's the only options you really have left.
What's your motion, Judy?
At this point, I'll make a motion that we reduce the funding in this from the 39,000 to trying to look at all of the things that have been important. I'll reduce it down to 25, reducing it by 50 at this point. So that's, I'll make that motion, down to 25. See if we get anywhere on that, and if we don't, then we go back to the drawing board. But what do people think of that motion? Let's start with that.
Would you consider a friendly amendment, Mr. Mayor, something lower? I saw your motion down, and I think you have 6,000 committed to, let's keep it at 10, and if we need to increase it, we can. Let's make it something, you know, where we're really making a cut, and if you'd be open to a friendly amendment, that would be mine.
Okay, Dan, what your amendment is, yours, Dan, okay? What others think? I mean, I can amend that amount. I was just pulling something that I thought we might get some agreement on, but. Anybody else have a number in their head? I know what Councillor Stenhouse is thinking.
I'm midway, I'm compromising.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Anybody else? No, nothing else. Okay, let's, I'm gonna keep it at 25 to see where we get, and, because like I say, from my perspective with it at this, it goes into reserves anyways, right? We're still gonna be making decisions, but at this point, it just identifies that, you know, we don't have as much money, we're not going to give away as much money. We're reducing that, it's gonna really limit what we can do out there. You know, part of me why I wanted to keep it more was keeping the door open for that victim services if we wanted to go there, right? So, Councillor Stenhouse?
Last meeting, I brought forward the suggestion for victim services that the charity golf tournament support victim services.
Yeah, and we're taking this agenda item to the intermunicipal because that's their charity golf tournament. They would have to make that decision, not us.
Okay, well, I just wanted to.
It's a good idea to get them to fund it, but it's not our tournament to delegate the funds.
But then, now we are, again, we're back at the drawing board, what's an essential service? Is it STARS, is it victim services, is it the emergency department at the Prairie Hospital? We have to prioritize the things we can control and the things we can't. Because there's gonna be more coming forward that's saying, well, but we're an essential service. Everyone is. This is a tough decision. And, yeah, it's a tough decision, and we just have to stick by our guns, and we just can't afford it. What happens when our grader breaks down and we have no grader to plow the road? Are we gonna go to other municipalities and stores and ask them to help fund a new grader? We have to look after our town.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion before we vote? I made the motion, 25. All in favor? Opposed? Oh, we are in a circle here.
What the heck is Councillor Wayne calling?
I know, we really miss Councillor Wakel. Who would have thought that much, Okay, so you know what, because we haven't gone anywhere and I can see where we're going with this, I think we're at the point where we have to leave it in at this point. We're gonna be dealing with individual things as they come. That's where we're at, and I suggest that we take a break, recoup, see how we can proceed further and go from there.